Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Shante Sachet. Along with me, I have Brandon Bonner. Today we'll be uh, actually moving forward on Free Thursdays training. Today's topic is projects, moving projects through their workflow. I have a short PowerPoint presentation to quickly go through, and then we'll jump right into the product. So for today, projects we'll be going over sequential versus concurrent, making sure you have a great understanding when using projects, having configured for that particular template you're using, is it set to sequential moving forward as far as through the workflow, the assignments, or actually using concurrent. We'll give you some good examples. We'll also move on through project assignment groups, making sure these are actually set up properly and working well for you within your office. A lot of offices find the out-of-box templates for assignment groups work well. However, you can customize to work to the way you're actually using projects. And then we'll also go over a current status report for projects, giving you good information, being able to understand this particular report. So what now? For more training, not just as far as on projects that we're covering today, you do have the option to go to abacusnext.com or abacusnext.com/webinars, where you can actually register for upcoming Thursday sessions or take a look at past sessions that are recorded. They are posted as well. Also, please note, for more personalized training for you as well as your office, feel free to contact us at OfficeTools@abacusnext.com. We would love to work for you. Okay, as I stated, a real quick PowerPoint presentation, so thank you for your patience there. Let's go ahead and jump right into the product of Office Tools. And here we are. So real quick, the particular client I'm going to use for this particular sample, I have loaded in my system as Office Tools. So let's do a search for Office Tools, select on Office Tools, and here they are. Coming to our Projects tab. So to begin, let's give a good understanding as far as sequential versus concurrent. I'm going to provide a couple examples, and then I will turn this over to Brandon Bonner, and he'll provide some examples as far as on concurrent. So beginning with sequential. Sequential, first and foremost, internally here within Office Tools, we hear sequential, and this is what it actually means. It's pass the torch. As you're actually doing a project will consist of many different assignments to complete this project. What starts the project? Once that's completed, what is the next step? In this case, it would be the assignment. You would move this particular project sequentially, left to right, to it's actually completed. Just that you know, projects within Office Tools include multiple assignments, as I just stated, and it would also include multiple staff members. As Shante would complete as far as the first assignment, as an example, he would then sequentially move that project to the next assignment, and let's say assign it to Brandon. Brandon then would be responsible for completing his assignment. Well, this process would continue until actually the project is completed, and then at that point in time, you're done. So let's give a good understanding of the sequential within projects. So the first thing I'd like to call your attention to is the setup at the top. We can then come down to projects. So projects, let's take a look at our project definitions. Selecting on project definitions, here we're able to view the different projects, and let's call these projects templates. As a best practice, take a look at these project definitions. If there are project definitions by title here, you know for sure you're not going to use, feel free to go ahead, highlight, hide, or delete. This would just basically cut down the drop-down version and allow you to select and only see those templates you're going to be using. Please note, anything that you remove here, you may always add it back in. So for this particular example, sequential, I'm going to select on the 1040 individual. And I'm now going to select on edit. When selecting on edit, you can clearly see the project definition, and there are multiple tabs here to configure the 1040 individual tags. Okay, great. So now what I would like to do for the 1040 individual tax, I'm now going to select on assignment options. And as you can see, the workflow type. If I open the drop down, there's three options here. Today we'll be covering, once again, sequential and concurrent. I want to make sure to set this or configure this to sequential. Now, moving forward, I have configured within OfficeTools, setting up projects to start with the first assignment. As that staff member is working that assignment, he or she, once completed, will then escalate to the next assignment, sequentially moving this project through the workflow until it's actually completed. Projects, even in a sequential setup or configuration, you may move this project, and let's say there are 4 assignments within this project. It will start at 1. You can escalate it to 2, 3, 4 until it's completed. You may also, we understand and appreciate, within that particular project, you very well may need to move it back an assignment. Maybe there's missing information. So sequentially speaking, you can move the project forward to completion. You may also move the project back to a previous assignment to in efforts to collect, let's say, once again, missing data, or in the efforts of completing the actual project. Having this configured to sequential, in so many words, you're saying Office Tools, I only want one staff member working on this particular project at a time. If Shantae is working on the first assignment, Brandon would not be able to work on assignment 2 until Shantae has completed his assignment and then escalated that project to Brandon. So once again, 1040 individual, this is the particular project definition we're using for the example, with the understanding this is the example for sequential. Okay, okay. Now, Office Tools, once again, just to recap, is our example. We're in the Projects tab. Let's actually create a project. Each tab will have its unique toolbar to allow you to do the work within that particular tab selected. So Projects, I'm now going to select on the plus, Add New Project. We'll echo back, placing your mouse or cursor over. Now you can see New Projects. We are using the 1040 with the understanding it is set or configured to sequentially move this project through the workflow for completion. This particular project, 1040, we're going to make sure the tax year is set. Project manager, if in fact we have a project manager who is managing this particular project, not doing the work, let's make sure to open this drop down and set it to the appropriate project manager. Project lead. Project lead, yes, you can set a project lead to your projects. However, please note, this is more so internal information. Who is the project lead for this particular project? Within Office Tools, you're not going to find necessarily major reporting or more information on the project lead. It's more so, once again, internally within your office, who is actually leading the project. 9 times out of 10, the project lead is left blank. However, you now have a good understanding. Feel free if you would like to use it. We can associate this to a work code. We may even take advantage as far as of the alias. If in fact you are populating the alias in the upper left-hand corner where I'm circling with my cursor, each project will have the year the project is actually in and the title of the project. If you populate the alias here, any information we place within this field will automatically add to or append to 2018-audit, and the alias of information would be listed here. We can use pop-up reminders. We can also, by default, add to the project manager's activity list 5 days before the due date, giving the project manager an opportunity to make sure this project is on its course to complete based on the due date that has been set. We can see the due date as well as the first extension. So if I come to initial setup right now, I can assign this out to the staff member who is going to be working this. I'm purposely not going to do this and just select on OK because I want to call your attention to what a project actually looks like once it comes into your office. Upper left-hand corner, you can see the year, the actual title of the project manager who is assigned. On the right side, you can see it's in an unprocessed state. This is what I really wanted to call your attention to. As your projects come into your office, they will be in an unprocessed state until you actually assign them out. This normally generates either an email or a phone call into Office Tools questioning, why are my projects in an unprocessed state? What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. In so many words, this project is here, tapping its foot, waiting for you to assign it out to the staff member who's going to work that assignment. Please note, we may also even drag and drop in documents to support this particular project if necessary. As you see on Process, within the toolbar, we may now come to Assign Work. When selecting on Assign Work, I can now assign this particular project to a staff member. The assignment, waiting authorization. These are the steps, the assignments that are set to the 1040 individual tax return. And of course, we can adjust them. So I'm going to leave the first assignment set. Who will be the staff member working this first assignment? I'm going to set this to the admin. In this case, I am the admin. I can add in notes if necessary. And at this point in time, I can now select on OK. Calling your attention to this due date, please note, this is the due date you would like to have this particular assignment completed by. The project will have its own due date based on the completion of the project. However, each assignment will also allow you to provide a due date in the efforts of making sure your projects are completing on time. Now we can select on OK. Upper right-hand corner after doing so, you can now see it went from an unprocessed state to awaiting authorization, the actual assignment that we're in and who this assignment is actually set to. Within my activity list down below, I can see Office Tools, and I can also see my assignment. I have two options from this point of view. Let's say I'm working this particular assignment and I have not yet completed it. However, I would like to track my time. I can select or right click on this particular item, and I can select on Create Time Card. To quickly capture my time, I'm going to hit cancel because I'm not going to track my time. And if you notice, this assignment will remain within my work list because I have not completed this assignment. So you have an option to track your time even though the assignment has not been completed, or if the assignment has been completed, it would be as simple as placing a check in the left of the title of that particular item. And at that point in time, you are now able to complete that as far as off of your checklist, or excuse me, off of your staff activity list down below. Even though we're in the 1040, I'm going to come to Manage just so I can see that particular project. And I'm going to come to Manage, and I'm going to use my filters. And close it out. And now I can see the, Office Tools, and it's in an unprocessed state. So let's just take this one. Or better yet, I'm just going to create one quick project, and that way we're not backtracking. It's going to be set to the admin, just as I stated. Here's my due date, and select on OK. Upper right-hand corner, unprocessed state until you assign it out. Let's go ahead and assign this work out to the staff member of the admin. That's who I'm playing today. OK. Now you can see once again, here is that assignment. To complete it, let's place a check in the box. By default, Office Tools will automatically provide me a time card to allow me to track my time. I'm going to select Cancel because we're not going to track time, and now we can create the next assignment. Office Tools is intelligent enough to recognize based on the template of the 1040, knowing the next assignment, input/prep. In this case, I now would just need to select the staff member who's going to be working on the input prep. In this case, I'm going to say Rebecca Sachet. Okay, of course I can add in notes, adjust the due date based on when I would want this assignment completed. Okay. Now at this point in time, bottom left-hand corner, I would like to see the activity list as if I was Rebecca. Now you can see her assignment. We now know we can right click to track our time, leaving this item within our staff activity list to complete later, or we may select on, place a check in the box to complete it off of our activity list. Please note, in the sequential version, if need be, let's say we check this off, we're not going to track the time, and I'm playing the role of Rebecca at this time. Missing info, even though this assignment has escalated to the next assignment, missing info, if need be, I can come back to a previous assignment and even assign it to a different staff. In the sequential setup, please note, only one staff member would be able to work on this assignment within this project at a time, making sure sequentially the assignments are completed to complete the project. At this point in time, I'm now going to turn it over to Brandon to provide an example as far as the concurrent.
All right, guys. Hello. I've been reading the guys' questions that have been coming through. We're going to get to those. I'm going to cover the concurrent component of a project relatively quickly because it's not going to apply to most of what you guys are doing. And then we'll circle back around and get some of these questions answered that are popping up. So, as far as concurrent is concerned, typically this is going to apply to things like audit work, compilations, those types of things. You're not going to use it very often for the everyday stuff like 1040s, tax returns, bookkeeping, stuff like that. So this is a little bit more out there than what you guys should use, but just wanted to get you guys familiar with it just so you know the options. So I'm going to scroll through over here and get to the audit project that we have. And what we're going to see when you have your project set up as concurrent, which Shantae covered where you can set that up, sequential versus concurrent. When you create a project like an audit and you look at the work list, you'll notice that right from the start, okay, it's an unprocessed status still, but right from the start, you'll notice that button is lit up red. And inside the work list / budget area, now if we go and look, all of the assignments that we have built out for this audit project or anything that we have set as concurrent are already pre-created inside of the project. Maybe this answers one of the questions in the queue here, but this will allow you to actually go through and assign out the individual steps free from the other steps, meaning you don't have to complete one step before you move to the next. So in this example, I can go ahead and set awaiting authorization for Andrew. I can set planning for Edward. I can set field work to go to Rebecca. I can also set final review to go back to Edward. And then I can set the bill to client to go to, we'll just say, Regina here. So you'll notice that I kind of pre-assigned all of these assignments before this project has even started. We're still in the unprocessed status. I'm just now controlling this with a lot more hands-on. So the concurrent component requires a lot more hands-on up front and throughout the project, whereas sequential is built more as a pass the torch, meaning OfficeTools will help you through the assignment process. This is where you would go in because audits, comps, reviews, that type of work allows for multiple assignments to be worked on at the same time. You can come in and now assign these out in an appropriate manner. So if I wanted to assign out awaiting authorization to Andrew starting on the 12th, and I want that to be due on the 15th, and then for planning, I want Edward to start working on planning on the 17th, and he has a week to do that. And then as far as the field work goes, she's going to be working on, Rebecca's going to be working on that on the 22nd through the 31st. The final review is going to happen on the 31st, and so on and so forth. You guys get the picture here. You can assign these out ahead of time. And on the day that you click the assign, it'll automatically pop up on that person's activity list. So no longer are you waiting for planning to be completed before fieldwork is assigned. Fieldwork is automatically going to get assigned to Rebecca on the 22nd, and the due date's going to be set for the 31st, regardless of whether planning has been finished or not, regardless of whether someone might be working on final review already. This is still preset in this manner. So you guys can see that this is a little bit more hands-on. You guys are required to do a little bit more work up front, but it does allow you a little bit more control for those types of projects that aren't past the torch. You're not waiting for step one to complete before you do step two. So again, this is the concurrent model. mostly applicable for things again like audits, comps, reviews, that type of stuff. But that's kind of the basis. So now when you close this down and we wait until the appropriate day, we'll see those assignments pop up on the appropriate staff members' activity list. So that's the basis between sequential and concurrent. One is pass the torch, one is all at once. Pass the torch allows your staff to work through the process in an appropriate amount of time, and concurrent allows you to control that process a little bit more upfront. So if you're doing planning, for example, for an audit, and you want to assign out all the different audit steps that you have, you can go in there and make sure that the right person's getting the right step at the right time. So a little bit more control versus allowing the staff to control it, but you guys can kind of see the difference between those two things. So we have about 5 minutes left. We're going to go ahead and jump into the questions that we see just to make sure we're not skipping anything. So I'm going to start here with the first question. For smaller companies, is there another method to manage workflow aside from the assign work button? When work is assigned to an employee for that project, then you seem to be unable to assign anything else related to that employee in the same project. So we've kind of discussed a few things there. Number one, you can always use concurrent, but if you follow what we're saying, you probably won't want to do that. So if you are working on a project that is set into sequential, and you hit assign work and you already have it sitting in input prep, you can always assign that again, right? If you hit assign work again and go to the option here, you can always create another assignment. It's perfectly fine. You're not limited to this. You can also go into the work list and create a new assignment from here. One of the questions I see in the list here is the difference between assigning out projects from the work list or from assign work. There isn't an immediate difference. It's just recommended to start your project with assign work for the pure fact of that it's less clicks. So you don't have to click into the work list, then click the plus sign, then fill it out. You just hit assign work and it assigns it out. So that's the difference. But as far as the smaller companies, you're going to be pretty much locked into one or the other. You're either going to be using sequential or you're going to be using concurrent. And for the most part, sequential should be what you stick with. But in the case where you need to assign more than one step out, you can click assign work again or go directly to the work list to create another step, even though a previous step might not be completed. So just keep that in mind. The next question that we have here is about holidays and how the due dates change within OfficeTools. That is set inside the definition. So this specific question says if there's a holiday, OfficeTools changes the project due date for the week with the holiday, but it doesn't switch it back. And that is true. There's no real way for us to note that because in a weekly project or a biweekly project or a monthly project, unless you have it broken out, it is rolling forward weekly or monthly or biweekly. So the due dates are not stored anywhere. We have nothing to refer back to. So if you do allow your project to move for any type of project that's not annual, you're going to have to reset it the next week back to the appropriate date. OfficeTools is not going to do that for you simply because it just doesn't know. So you got to make sure that if you are allowing OfficeTools to push your due dates in the forward direction, for anything that's not an annual project, that you reset it the week after the holiday to make sure your due dates are correct. There is a question here about the admin, just in case it hasn't been answered. That was just an example staff member. That's not anything that has to do with OfficeTools. Just think of admin as Brandon or as Shantae or as Jackie. It's just a fake staff member that we have built in. The project does not display on all of our staff's time tabs. How do I edit those to make the project field show up on everyone's time? Jackie, if you go to the time tab itself, each staff member controls which columns are available in their timesheet. And you control those by clicking on the gears here, and then you can check off the option that says project. So if some of your staff don't have the project column, they just need to make sure that they're logged in as them, go to their gears inside the time tab, and then check off the project icon or a project box here, and that will put the tab on their timesheet for them. Next, if there's a holiday, OfficeTools changes. Oh, we already got that one. Can we not use holidays by project? Again, the holiday part is really specifically designed to make sure that we're managing the 1040s, because that happens relatively frequently. To be clear, any project that is not a annual project with a set due date. Okay, so if you guys go into your project section and look at your definitions, and you hit edit, if your project is not set to reoccur yearly and you do not have a due date filled in to the due date section, then you need to make sure that this says do not skip. Otherwise, it's going to throw everything off and you're going to have to manually reset it. If your project is set to monthly or weekly or biweekly, whatever it might be, you cannot use the weekends and holidays option. It simply won't work because there's no templated due date to refer back to reset on. So you got to make sure that if you're using your option here to move in forward or in reverse direction, that it's an annual project with a templated date. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues where you got to make sure that you reset it. Okay? So that's kind of the basis on that. A little bit of a rundown on concurrent, a little bit of a rundown on sequential. Any other questions that you guys have, please feel free to pop those in there right now. And I just want to make sure that you guys are aware, abacusnext.com/webinars to see what's upcoming. Make sure that you guys are choosing the appropriate topic. Anything that you guys need should be in there. You can also look in there and see what we have recorded in the past. So if you are looking for a specific topic, scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's a section in there called past webinars, and we will be able to make sure that you guys are getting the information. All right, so are we going to have to change the holiday and then redo the weekly projects, or will it adjust going forward? If you change the project to move in the forward direction or into the reverse direction, and you're leaving that option on, you have to manually change it. If you want to go in and turn that option off, then it'll just roll forward with that option off from that point. So you won't have to recreate your projects or anything like that. But if you're going to leave that on and the due date moves, you'll have to reset it. The difference between assigned work and the work list budget, Jennifer, there isn't really one. It's just a matter of saving clicks. If you want to start your project by going into your work list/budget and then clicking on the plus sign, that's fine. Make sure that you choose add assignment and not add budget. But it's just a few less clicks to just hit the assign work button to start the project off. Otherwise, you're still building an assignment, whichever way you do it. So there's not any immediate difference between those two buttons. Okay. We are kind of coming close to our time here. Just wanted to remind you, if you guys have any questions at all, anything that is coming up from this webinar or any other topic that you guys want to discuss, please email us. Our email is officetoolstraining@abacusnext.com. If you have the old email, you can still use that. It's being forwarded. Training@officetools.com works as well. Make sure to go hop online, look at the upcoming webinars, take a look at our past recordings, and you guys should be served. Again, this was Brandon and Shantae. We appreciate you guys tuning in to Free Training Thursday, and hopefully we see you guys next week. Thanks a lot.